If you feel like you make pretty good money, but you still don't feel ahead financially, this video is for you. Most people think financial freedom comes from making more money, finding the perfect investment, or buying a house. But after watching my income grow over the years, while still feeling a ton of financial stress and anxiety, I learned something. Financial freedom isn't built from big dramatic milestones. It's built from tiny habits that compound quietly. I'm a business owner here in New York City who makes middle-class income by New York City standards. I'm a first-generation kid who did not grow up wealthy, and on top of all that, I graduated with $135,000 in student loan debt. In just the past few years, I've paid off my debts completely, and I've also grown my investment accounts into something that I'm actually proud of. All of that came from simple habits and learning from a few stupid mistakes. So in this video, I'm breaking down 6 tiny habits that help me take control of my money, help me reduce anxiety towards money, and honestly, just help me move closer towards financial freedom. Let's get into it. The first habit is interesting because it's the simplest one, but almost nobody does it. Habit 1 is tracking your net worth. Most advice on YouTube tells you to start with tracking your spending. Things like rent and bills and all the charges on your credit card statement. And I'll tell you right now, I watched all those videos, I did all the things. If you start with tracking your spending, all that's gonna do is make you feel guilty and way more anxious. And honestly, it makes sense. Like, it's pretty obvious that if you only track the money that's leaving your account every month, it's impossible to feel like you're winning. Instead, I want you to start by tracking your net worth. Your net worth is simply just your assets minus your liabilities. Assets are what you own: cash, investments, crypto, a house if you have one, anything that has value. Liabilities are what you owe. So credit card debt, student loan debt, a mortgage, all these things would fit into the liability category. And I want to be super clear here. When you do this exercise, you might realize that your net worth is really, really low, or like it was in my case a few years ago, it might even be negative. This does not mean that you're failing. This just means that you're finally looking at reality and you're ready to make a change. Reality is where you can start building momentum in the right direction. This is the first step in feeling powerful and in control when it comes to your finances. So how do you figure out your net worth? The free and easy way is you open up the Notes app on your phone or a blank sheet in Google. You write assets and liabilities. List everything that you have under assets. They could be real numbers or estimates. Then list what you owe under liabilities. And again, just use estimates if you have to. I don't want you to overthink this. It's just a starting point. Now you're going to subtract your liability number from your asset number, and this gives you your net worth. This is exactly how I personally started tracking my net worth 3 to 4 years ago, and it's completely changed how I look at my finances. Today, I use a website called Monarch Money. It's not free, but I think it's worth it. I created an account and I connected all my brokerage accounts, my credit cards, my checking accounts, my savings accounts. I connected everything I have to it. Using this data, Monarch continuously tracks my net worth in real time. And there are other features on there too, like budgeting and goal setting. This isn't an advertisement or anything. I just really like Monarch's user interface and how simple it is. I'm sure there are plenty of other websites and apps that are just as good. But again, I would just start with a Google Sheet or with your Notes app, and then you can graduate to those other websites in the future. Habit number 2 is gonna be having a monthly finance check-in. You're gonna schedule a 20-minute finance check-in into your calendar once per month. I personally like to make it the same time every month, but you don't have to. I just found it easier to stick to this habit knowing that every first Saturday of every month, I have a 20-minute finance check-in with myself in the morning. I know it sounds a little dramatic and too good to be true, but honestly, this habit alone has significantly decreased the amount of stress and anxiety I have about my finances. A lot of the stress that people have around money comes from avoidance. When you avoid your finances, your brain automatically fills in the blanks with worst case scenarios. We've all been there, we've all done that, and it's always scarier in your head than it actually is on paper. So once a month during this finance check, you're gonna review 3 things. First, you're gonna review your spending from the last 30 days. Where did the money go? Were there any surprises? Were there any patterns that popped up? Second, you're gonna review your progress. So did your net worth go up? Did your debt go down? Did you make more money? Is your savings growing? And third, you're gonna set one focus for the next month. Not 10 goals, just one. These are gonna be really simple things that you can easily get done in the next 30 days. So for example, things like, can I save an extra $100 next month? Can I cook an extra meal at home every week? Can I up my investing by $25 next month? Can I cancel one subscription next month? One thing I've learned about myself is that if I have too many goals, my mental energy just gets spread too thin. This increases my stress levels and honestly just makes me feel guilty when I inevitably don't complete all of the goals that I set for myself. Diluted focus will give you diluted results. When you have one singular focus, your brain can dedicate all its mental energy towards getting that one task done for the next 30 days. So open up your calendar and pick a 20-minute time block next month to do your finance check. And again, I suggest picking the same time every month, but you don't have to. Habit number 3 is to find 10 personal finance influencers that you actually like and follow them on all the platforms that you use. Instagram, YouTube, X, whatever you're on. Don't just follow influencers who are constantly trying to get you to buy things. Follow people who influence how you think. You've probably heard the expression that you are the sum of the people that you surround yourself with. Most people are surrounded by content that's constantly telling them to spend more, upgrade more, and to keep up with what's cool. So just flip the environment. Flood your feed with people who normalize investing, savings, long-term thinking, and delaying gratification. When smart money decisions are constantly in front of you, they're gonna be easier to make. So find 10 finance creators that you trust, follow them everywhere, and let your feed work for you, not against you. Habit number 4 is to spend intentionally. One thing I don't like about other finance people on YouTube is that they're very restrictive. They mostly focus on saving, cutting costs, and reducing wasteful spending. The problem is a lot of people hear this advice and they instantly think, I need to cut out everything fun. And obviously no one wants to do that, so then they just keep doing what they're already doing. So I'm here to talk about how to spend your money. You want to spend intentionally, not randomly. The goal here is to spend generously and really treat yourself on the things that you genuinely love and care about. Then you're gonna complement that by aggressively saving on the things you don't really care that much about. Most people fall into 2 groups when it comes to spending money. Some people have the treat yourself and you only live once mentality. These are people who spend generously with everything they buy. They rationalize all their purchases by buying the best quality or the best brand name of every single thing. And obviously this is gonna lead to overspending. Others have the opposite mindset where they're constantly restricting themselves from buying things. They avoid spending money as much as they can, but when they do have to spend money, they rationalize purchases by buying the cheapest version of everything. This may sound good to some of you, but honestly, all it does is lead to stress and anxiety every time that you need to spend money. Instead, here's how you can apply the spend intentionally, not randomly strategy. Take a quick moment to reflect on your life and your goals. Write down your top 3 priorities in life, just 3. Things like family, health and fitness, traveling, whatever hobby you like, whatever it is. During your next 20-minute finance check, you're gonna pull up your bank and your credit card statements. Review your last 30 days of spending and look for any patterns. Identify all the areas that you spend on outside of your bills and expenses. Things like your hobbies, your subscriptions, and any random Amazon purchases. Ask yourself this: does my spending reflect my top 3 priorities in my life? Most people are gonna realize that there's a disconnect between their spending and their priorities. This is completely normal. For example, when I personally started doing this exercise 3 years ago or whatever it was, my top 3 priorities were health and fitness, my family, and creating content as a hobby because I was just getting into it. When I reviewed my spending, I realized that I was spending most of my discretionary income on going out to eat, sneakers and clothes, and subscriptions that I was barely using. This was such a big eye-opener for me. I was honestly shocked that I was spending such little money on the things that I valued so much. And I suddenly felt excited to kind of change things. I deleted a bunch of subscriptions that I barely used. I learned how to cook more easy meals at home. And I stopped buying a bunch of sneakers and clothes because honestly, I was barely wearing the stuff that I had sitting in my closet. And so I would say that this is probably the most impactful exercise that I've ever done. Because like I said, I was really shocked that I was spending such little money on the things that I valued so much in my life. When you start to align your money with your values, you automatically feel richer. Habit number 5 is to invest a tiny amount every single month. When it comes to taking control of their personal finances, I think a lot of people get intimidated by investing. They believe that they don't know how, that they don't have enough money to start, or that you need some finance degree to know what you're doing. Ultimately, most people just don't feel confident that they're ready to start investing. If you wait until you feel ready, you're gonna waste years of precious time. Trust me, I learned this the hard way. So I'm 31 years old right now, and I procrastinated investing for way too long, mostly because I felt like I had more important things that I needed to do with my money. I graduated grad school with $135,000 in student loan debt, and so I kind of just assumed that I needed to pay that off first before I could start investing. I also live in New York City, and so I felt like I needed to stack a lot of cash in my checking account just to cover like rent and living expenses because things cost a lot here. And I wasn't wrong necessarily, like obviously paying off debt and paying your living expenses are important. However, I was wrong in thinking that I couldn't invest while also doing those things. The truth is, small investments compound into huge returns over time. And one thing you'll notice when you start to invest these small amounts every month is you're gonna start thinking about yourself differently. You're gonna start feeling better about yourself. You're gonna start feeling like an investor because you are. You're not just a worker or a saver anymore. This is a huge identity shift. So here's an easy way to start investing. First, you'll need to open up a brokerage account. A few years ago, when I was getting into all this, I did some research on YouTube, and so I started with Vanguard. And I still use Vanguard to this day because they have very low fees. From everything that I hear, Charles Schwab and Fidelity also seem like very good options. Next, you'll have to link your checking account to your brokerage account. From there, you'll be able to set up a small recurring transfer of money from your checking account into your brokerage account. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of stopping there, but remember, your money is not invested yet. Basically, all you've done is set up a transfer where your money is sitting idle in your brokerage account instead of sitting idle in your checking account. You still need to direct that idle money into an investment of your choice. I recommend starting with a low-cost index fund that tracks the entire US stock market. On Vanguard, this fund is called VTSAX. An index fund is a fund that passively tracks a large group of companies. Even though I use Vanguard, all the other brokerages have their own versions of a low-cost index fund that tracks the entire US stock market. And just a warning, a lot of these low-cost index funds have startup minimums, so you might see that in order to invest in a low-cost index fund, you might need to pay the startup minimum of $1,000. But that's only a one-time fee. After you pay that startup minimum, going forward, you can invest as little as $20 a month if you really wanted to. So now that you found the right index fund on your brokerage, you're gonna have to decide how much money you wanna invest every single month. Again, I recommend starting with a very small number that you feel comfortable with. I think anywhere from $100 to $200 is a perfect place to start. And that's it, now you're an investor. Now that your small monthly contribution is set up and automated, your wealth is gonna start compounding in the background while you just focus on living your life. The next habit I highly recommend is automation. Automating your savings and your investing is the simplest way to build long-term wealth without overthinking it. Check out this video where I walk you through exactly how to do this step by step.